Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Really happy to be here on another podcast show on Happy Strong Family. Just wanted to welcome Sheikh Mehmet Usta. Welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
Jazakallah khair for coming. In a couple of minutes, I'll introduce you and then we'll get into our conversation for today.
Inshallah.
Just welcoming the audience to the show today. Just want to give you a little bit of heads up. We are in a building which is sitting on top of a gymnasium. And today, they've decided of all days to have a major volleyball tournament. So you might be hearing a lot of yells and screams and, commotion. Please, that's not on our show. You're not hearing voices. That's actually coming from a volleyball game downstairs. So please excuse that, a little bit of noise from the background. So just to get to our topic for the day, really happy to have our esteemed Sheikh, Sheikh Usta on our show today. And I want to give the audience a little bit of a background on the Sheikh's career and his credentials. And this is something that I'm really excited to talk about, because one thing that you'll see is that the Sheikh is a very well-rounded individual. He's had experience in the industry, working for organizations, but he's also an accomplished alim and contributes significantly to the Muslim community through his knowledge and his leadership. So Sheikh Mehmet Usta has over 20 years of leadership, education, coaching, and entrepreneurship experience in Muslim communities in both the United States and Canada. Sheikh Usta is the founder of the I3 Institute, which we'll talk about shortly. He focuses on inspiring young Muslims through a holistic, non-sectarian, and evidence-based approach. I3 Institute has transformed youth development and impacted thousands of Muslims globally. The Sheikh has learned under Islamic scholars from Al-Azhar. He holds a Bachelors in Islamic Studies from Mishkah University. He's currently pursuing a Master's in Islamic Studies with a focus on Usul al-Fiqh, which means Islamic legal theory. He also holds a Master's in Business Administration and also a Bachelor's in Computer Science, mashallah. He has over 20 years of corporate career experience, including roles as VP of Engineering for a technology firm and Chief Operating Officer and corporate partner at a sales and marketing business. So mashallah, Sheikh, that's something that I guess I want to just get into. First of all, is let us know a little bit about your life history. How have you kind of gone through your early education? What inspired you to pursue not just your professional career, but what kind of inspired you to get into the Islamic field, specifically gaining knowledge and then contributing back to the community? What has kind of motivated you to do that?
I'll start with the professional one, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
We'll make it brief, inshallah.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, my dad is a computer science professional.
Okay.
One of the first in the Middle East. So he studied in Europe and got to a high level of abilities. So, I was with computers when I was 6 years old.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So
So my first computer and the first programs I wrote, and I was very, very young age. And this is pretty young for North America at that time in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
For in the Middle East, I'm pretty sure based on one of the very few kids who had that experience. So, I grew up with computers. I loved computers and loved the development and building things. So, I pursued my computer science career when I finished high school here in Windsor, Ontario.
Okay.
So I grew up here in Canada, at least part of my childhood.
Yes, sir.
And after that, basically, I wanted to complement my tech or my engineering, career with something a little bit more artsy.
Okay.
When you go into mathematics and computer science, everything is zeros and ones. Everything is
it's too
everything's true and false, right?
Everything's analytical.
Yeah, so you annoy people.
Yeah.
But you have lots of critical and problem-solving skills, which are great, right?
Yeah.
So I did my MBA also in the States, and that was beautiful because
wonderful.
really, I focused on marketing and business development, and so that was beautiful. And then I had careers. I had 10, 12 years here in Canada, and 10 years experience in the United States. In terms of the Islamic pursuit, it started at a very young age. Age 12, we went through basically right now. Basically, the whole world is watching a genocide live on TV.
Yeah.
Now, for me at that age, it wasn't live. It was the news was there. It was the genocide in Bosnia and Bosnia.
Oh, yeah.
So that's basically when I set my goal. When I saw the massacre on TV, the rape, the mass graves, I still remember basically I told myself like this is gonna happen. Like if we're Muslim, if I'm Muslim to these people, if I'm the Muslim brother of these people,
Yeah, sure.
I have to do something about it.
Have a duty.
Yeah. So that impacted me, and basically I made a big promise to God at the age of 12 that I'm gonna live all my life to safeguard this ummah and make this deen great.
SubhanAllah.
So that's really it.
SubhanAllah. And so you, but then it's sort of like a challenge. Like I think we all experience this, is where if we feel that it's either you do kind of like a secular professional career path, or you become a scholar and imam, and it's like they don't meet in the
Yes.
middle. I've seen a few of our ulama who have done both.
Yeah.
And I've always seen them to be extremely dynamic individuals. But it seems that our society is not geared towards that. You either specialize in one or the other. How did you balance both?
Look, the balance question I always get from my students, from the
Yeah.
community, it's there's no simple answer for it. The balance, like such a balance, necessitates lots of sacrifice.
Okay.
Like, period, basically. It will happen at the personal level, at the family level, at the career level, and many levels, really. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if people want to basically do this, they have to be willing to sacrifice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, they have to be very dedicated and disciplined. Like so you have to be surgical.
Right.
But more importantly, basically, I told my students a few years ago, because I'm teaching also like a class that's advanced in Islamic Studies,
Sure.
in the pursuit of scholarship for the young kids. Inshallah, not young kids, like teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers.
I'm getting too old now. But I told them, look, you don't call yourself a scholar if you don't have at least expertise in 3 or 4 fields. Like, it has to be 3 or 4 fields. Like Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah, used to be a medical doctor. He used to be an expert archer. He used to be like he's a polymath. Most of our scholars of the past were polymath.
Yes.
Now the word polymath doesn't exist anymore, because people are just basically very focused in one field.
Specialized.
You know what I'm saying? Very specialized. Which is what the corporations need.
Yeah.
But for you to be a really effective and impactful leader, especially from an Islamic perspective, you need to have 3 different, 3 or 4 different focuses, really.
Yeah.
I would say 3 is minimum, right? But I'm pursuing my 4th right now, so I can basically meet the requirement, par excellence, really.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm pursuing actually a 4th degree in international relations and political science.
Oh, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's not in the bio, but
Yeah, sure. Wow.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's like the bio's not keeping up with your life.
Alhamdulillah. And it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, really.
Allah gives tawfiq.
Yeah. So for a scholar to be able to you're gonna get asked questions and fatwas about a million things.
Yeah.
How are you going to be able to basically answer these questions if you don't understand, let's say, the political landscape? Many mashayikh speak about, they get asked lots of tough questions, especially today, basically in the atmosphere we're in with Islamophobia in Gaza and Burma and East Turkestan and so forth. What is the way forward? What about basically the ideologies and the atmosphere of education here in the West in specific?
Yeah.
So you need like philosophical background, political background, economic background, business background. Some of the humanities, some of the arts, public speaking, writing skills, lots of stuff.
Yeah, so I guess the message you're giving, and I guess I can reflect that to our audience, especially our young people, is take life seriously. Pursue your education seriously, become good at what you do, but also devote yourself to learning the Islamic sciences as well. Yeah, and so you can grow up kind of holistic, and you kind of know how the world works, but from an Islamic lens. Yeah,
and the other thing is basically, I believe, like, to be honest, the day is short, 24 hours.
Yeah.
But if you look at it in a positive way, it is pretty long. Like, how many hours do you spend at your job? At the end of the day, let's say 8 plus the commute, let's say 9.5, let's say 10.
Yeah.
But you still have 14 hours.
Yeah.
Like, if you optimize it, if you sleep, let's say only 6 hours, or you try to optimize your sleep, you optimize your physical exercise and so forth, your social life.
Mm-hmm.
You have few other hours. With those few other hours, you can pursue a second endeavor in life.
Yeah.
If you paralyze that, you're going to achieve lots of stuff. If you're going to just do one thing at a time, some people like basically to do one thing at a time so they can focus, and there's good reasons for that, really. But it should be maybe one part of your life.
Sure.
But and number 2 is you need to be student all your life. I'm still a student today.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to be a student until I die.
Yeah.
But if you're a student since basically JK, junior kindergarten, until you die, that's a long period, so you can achieve lots of stuff.
That's right.
But without those 2 things, plus the sacrifice, it's almost impossible.
You're not going to achieve. Yeah, I get it. Jazakallah khair. I mean, that was a great introduction, and I do feel that even in the lives of our shuyukh and our elders and other people, there's so many lessons we can learn and apply that in our own lives. Now, one of the I guess topics of the day of this particular podcast is the question of the wisdom of trials and difficulty. Why do we go through trials and difficulty? What's our what's the wisdom behind that? And then how do we deal with these difficulties and trials? How do we heal ourselves, and how do we deal with despair and pain? And sometimes our iman is affected.
Yeah.
I think this topic is quite important because these days, we as an ummah are witnessing the calamity that's happening among our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza. We feel, I feel like completely helpless. I feel, making my dua, I'm participating, protests occasionally, giving donations occasionally. But we really are feeling helpless, in the face of this sort of, kind of assault on our people. And I remember seeing a TikTok video where this non-Muslim young man, and he was saying how he's completely taken aback because he's seeing these people in Gaza being killed and being bombed and being completely so many people have been killed, but yet their faith is so strong, yet their iman is so strong. And he says that normally people might say, well, hasn't God given up on them, or is there a God? How can he allow this to happen? And that might be a natural thought that might come to people's minds. But he said he's amazed at how these people are keeping so strong in
resilient,
their faith, resilient in their faith, in spite of the punishment that they're receiving at the hands of their enemies. And I think many times, we've seen so many of these videos of men and women, non-Muslims, who've come to the Quran because they've seen the deep faith of the people of Gaza, right? But here on this side of the pond, many times people might feel kind of, they might feel, why is Allah doing this to us? What's the wisdom? What's the hikmah? So this is the open-ended topic I want to kind of throw at you. And if you can shed some light from the Quran and Sunnah, how do we process what's going on?
Can I throw a curveball before the light? Light comes from Allah. For me, I throw curveballs.
Yeah, sure.
To be honest, basically, I've never heard this discussion being dealt with in the from my perspective in two basically portions. Let's call it. Okay, there's ibtila, which is testing. And it seems basically we always say everything is ibtila on every incident we see, but there's also something called al-fasad. Nobody wants to talk about that. Al-fasad is basically corruption. Like what's happening basically right now in Gaza is corruption. The corruption of the world order. It's the corruption of the world order, and it's the mismanagement of the affairs of the ummah. Right. So it is an ibtila. There's always an ibtila somehow, because life is ibtila. But the personal ibtila, that we speak about, and how do we deal with it on a personal perspective is one thing. And there's the corruption that's out there on a different level. So let's start with the corruption, because since maybe most people have never spoke about it as much. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Meaning the corruption basically became visible, because see, corruption is sometimes it's invisible, right? It could be Allah that's corrupt. It could be it could be an incident that we didn't see, we just heard about it. When ظهر, meaning basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says basically became visible, it became apparent, manifested itself in front of everybody, in the lands and the seas. And why is Allah saying that? Because it became so visible. It's like kind of took over all of Earth, because Earth is seas and land, really. بما كسبت أيدي الناس, due to what the people's hands have done, meaning we've done something to basically cause this corruption. Every one of us maybe has a bit that they contributed to the visibility or the the corruption basically, and it's and leading the corruption to become so prevalent.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It prevailed. I guess that's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Corruption prevailed over the land and the seas. Why? Due to what the hands of people have done.
Yeah.
ليذيقهم بعد ما عملوا. Meaning basically, so Allah makes them taste some of the works they've done.
Yes.
لعلهم يرجعون. Meaning basically, so they can. So hopefully, like that's the objective. The objective is basically so they can come back.
Come back to Allah.
بعض الذي عملوا. Meaning basically some of what they've done. Some, just if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to basically make you taste all the outcomes or the consequences of what you've done, earth would have been basically, maybe destroyed.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of basically with the little bit of the sins of the people, a little bit of the outcome of the sins of the people have become prevalent. So we need to understand, like when that non-Muslim asks the question. By the way, all questions from non-Muslims like that are welcome.
Yeah.
But when people say, why is Allah allowing this?
Yeah.
Is it Allah who allowed this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built the world and let us live in it. He gave us the freedom of choice. So, Allah's not moving each one of us. He gave us already free choice to be tested within this framework. It's limited time, limited space, which is on planet Earth, maybe a little bit more than planet Earth, because now people go to the moon and Mars.
Yeah.
But within a very short period of time, at least, short window of time.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So what did we do? Like, what are we doing as Muslims to basically not let this corruption be? If you're not prepared and you go to an exam, you're going to fail. Are you going to blame Allah?
Yeah.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, Allah made me fail. Is it Allah who made you fail or you didn't study? Which one is it? You see how the question already basically was implicitly misformed, misconfigured. Right? It wasn't built right. Why did Allah allow it? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already allowed evil to exist for people to be tested from the beginning of time. Allowed shaitan to basically commit kufr, to do waswasa, because this is life is a test. So when somebody comes and says, like, why is Allah testing? Well, Allah already created you for the purpose of being tested.
Yes.
But we're not focused on the right thing. Okay. We're not focused on ourselves. We're externalizing the responsibility. We're exporting the responsibility. We're outsourcing. Since I'm an IT person, we're outsourcing the responsibility and the ownership to Allah. But that's not true. The responsibility is ours, but we don't want to hold it.
So, I guess to take up on one of the points you made was, I guess one of the benefits I'm taking out of this is that if the tests that we're going through as individuals or as an ummah are due to the fasad, and of course, in the case of man-made war and oppression, this is clearly fasad. But then, of course, we also have natural disasters, earthquakes, all of these kinds of disasters that befall people. But if we look at war and oppression and genocide, then how can that be? I guess what I'm trying to say is that how can that help us? What responsibility does that put on us living in the West and Canada to respond to that? Like, how is Allah testing us here? Obviously, Allah is testing the brothers and sisters who are being afflicted, but is Allah also testing us
100%.
Through that? And how should we respond?
So 100%, because as I said, basically, it's our responsibility when we're asking the question,
how are we contributing to that?
We contributed directly to what's happening in Gaza.
Okay.
Like we've been contributing to, the Ummah have contributed to everything, to Kashmir, to Bosnia when I was a little child, to Afghanistan, to East Turkestan, to Syria, to Iraq, to Libya, to Yemen, to the disasters. Like, things are happening now because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. How could we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala go say, okay, kill a million people here, kill a million people there? Like, if you look at God this way, it's very, it's very repulsive. Like, you'd say, okay, what kind of God is this? Never, ever. Allah is the most merciful. He introduced himself to humanity as the most merciful. The Surah Al-Fatiha introduces Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. The most merciful, the most gracious. You know what I'm saying? So there's no way on earth, basically, the rational mind can conclude that there's a perfect being, all wise, all competent, right? and he's just like basically killing babies here and killing babies there. That's not him. He gave you the, like, it's like somebody renting to you the, like, there's a game downstairs, the volleyball, right?
Yeah.
Now, are you responsible whose team basically is going to win? You just rented the facility, let's say,
right.
yourself.
Yeah.
You just rented the facility, and that's it. They have like now an hour or two to play. Within those 2 hours, it's their responsibility. If they break something, if whoever wins, whoever loses, that's their thing. Allah created the worlds, and He's like, okay, here you guys go, play the game of life. You have this like 6 years to live, 7 years to live, whatever the average age is this day, and then you're going to be held accountable on the good and the bad. So we are responsible to what's happening in Gaza today. Why? Because the Ummah is weak. And Allah subhanahu already told us in the Quran, do not divide amongst yourselves, because if you divide, you're going to become weak. And when you become weak, unfortunately, the law of the jungle basically runs the show on earth. So the strong, if the disbelievers are united, they're going to be strong. If you divide, basically you're weak. And because of the law of the jungle, they're going to come and crush you. But that's what's happening. Like, people are going to make it a philosophy. There's no philosophy here. It's very simple. We're divided into 57 Muslim majority countries. We are even basically, we're ousted out of our countries. The reason you're here and I'm here, because probably our parents basically, I'm not sure if you maybe you're here yourself, but our parents basically brought us here. Why did they come here? Because they didn't have financial security, they didn't have political security, they didn't have social security, they didn't have aspirations and dreams and opportunities for them to fulfill over there. Maybe they were basically running away from a war. They came here basically seeking refuge. We're all refugees, even if we came as immigrants. The Muslims in the West. And I know it's a little bit bleak and negative, but see, if we're not going to deal with the challenges, it's just going to continue. It's already perpetuating. It's going to continue to perpetuate. So I'd rather basically cut it out and say, hold on 1 second. Let's just basically take a step back, understand the hard truth. Let's take that sour pill and understand that the role that we're playing in perpetuating the divisions. I mean, right now, if we zoom in a little bit into our community, okay, how do we see it? Yeah, is it united? Everybody loves everybody, or everybody's bickering with everybody? The Salafi hates the Sufi hates the Salafi. The Hanafi doesn't like the non-Hanafis. The non-Hanafis have problems with the Hanafis. The Tablighis criticize the Ikhwanis. But this is what it is. Look at our masajid. Sometimes, this is a Somali masjid. Oh, this is a Afghani masjid. Oh, this is a Deobandi masjid. This is a Salafi masjid. That's how it is. Like our masajid, which is supposed to be the minaret of light that speaks to Muslims, no color, no background discrimination, no ethnicities, no madhab discrimination. They all have the same manifestation.
Yeah, I get it. So one angle that we're kind of focusing on here is how our actions contribute to the ibtila that we're facing. Especially when it's done in a political context, especially when it's there's so many things in the world that have man's hand in it, whether it be famine, genocide, oppression, even climate change. These all have man-made impact.
Every evil is from man. Every good is from God.
Yes, but then how do we process? I guess more at a daily level, where we have obviously tests that we're all going. At the end of the day, we're all going to get sick. We're all going to die. We're all going to experience some sort of calamity in our lives that are, what we can think of as tests from Allah.
The personal tests.
The personal tests. It could be a breakdown in our marriage. It could be a death of a child. It could be cancer. It could be in all sorts of afflictions that we come through. And sometimes those afflictions can cause people to move away from Iman.
Okay.
For others, it may cause them to come closer to Iman. So can you help us to unpack that?
Today I'm going to be focusing on people's responsibilities. So every single example that you gave, I was trying to basically just deal with it as if it's just pure qadar. Like, look, let me tell you something. If it's not like an earthquake that just hits you. Unfortunately, there might be some, again, contribution that you've contributed to the situation you're in as an individual.
Sure.
Now we're going to speak as an individual. Okay.
Sure.
Forget Gaza, forget the world. Let's just go back to our selfish lives. Okay. Perfect. Divorce.
Yeah, that's a human
from
thing.
God, or is it basically that you've mistreated your wife, and your wife mistreated you because she doesn't want to basically submit to the law of God, and you don't want to submit to the law of God, and then each one basically, and then your marriage between you and her became a tug of war, everybody's trying to pull the rope towards them. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't like, this is the issue. People basically want to create they want to always outsource the responsibility because we cannot handle guilt in a proper way. Like, you know, you've struggled with your marriage because you and your wife, or one of you, I don't know, basically, at least one of you, basically, you or her or both, did not stick to the proper formula that creates a successful marriage, which is the Quran and Sunnah. Why do we need the Quran and Sunnah? And most of our kids were never told, why do we need the Quran and Sunnah? They just like, follow it. Sure. It's the book of God. It's the book of God. This is the Sunnah of the Prophet. Nothing makes sense to them. The shortest answer, but that needs to basically be explained to kids depending on their age, right? The shortest answer is that human relationships, necessitates a blueprint. It's kind of like basically when you have any sophisticated machine, you have the standards of operations, you have some manuals, you have to run it, right? If it's not as simple as the phone, you need some instructions. Well, you are a very sophisticated machine as a human being. You need a very sophisticated manual. It's called the Quran and Sunnah. If you live your life with all the complexities of human relationships based upon the Quran and Sunnah, everything's going to be smooth. If you don't, there's going to be mess. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran very straight, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِ فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ. Whoever turns away from my manual, from my standards of operations, he or she will have basically a life full of hardships and anxiety and all the negative things. But it's very simple. But that idea never were communicated to our children on a physical level. What do you mean physical? Like material level? Yeah, sure. That like my relationship with you, here we go, I can touch you. You know what I'm saying? We have a relationship. If this was a physical material relationship would go through a breakdown, whether at work, whether in the marriage, whether through a family parent-child relationship, whether through just friendships, through communities, any type of human relationship will face a breakdown if it's not based upon the Quran and Sunnah. You see what I'm saying? Understood. We always communicate Islam to our kids and to the world, by the way, on a spiritual level. Oh, follow the Quran so you can have Jannah. Like your kid is telling you, look, man, I'm not thinking about Jannah right now. I'm thinking about my life.
Direct impact.
Yeah, my life right now is a big mess, Mama, Baba. And you're telling me Jannah and hell. I'm already living in hell. From their perspective, it's wrong. But it's from their perspective. Why can't we basically help them to see that the Quran and Sunnah actually were made by God? We're sent by God, so they can live a happy life. Because that's all what they're caring about right now.
That's right.
Like all what they care about is I want to be happy. That's it.
So it's a dual. If you bring the Quran and Sunnah into your life and you follow it and according to the spirit and the letter, then you will enjoy success. But if you don't, then you will endure. You'll experience hardship because a lot of the hardships are because we're just incompetent in life, and those solutions are already in the Quran and Sunnah. Understood. But I still want to go back to this point. So I'm like, okay, so just for our audience, definitely, in our deen, there is this side of it where the tests that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are often in response to our own ma'asi, our own sins. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that we contribute to a lot of the tests that we bring upon ourselves. But then how do you tell a family in Gaza, a father who's lived a very righteous life and whose granddaughter is murdered in front of him and he's holding that daughter? How can you say to him that you contributed to that? So what is the other side of that?
No, there is a side.
What is that other side?
The other side is basically where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qadar.
Okay.
Now the qadar plays a role in people's life.
So explain that to us.
Yeah, so we're gonna explain that too. Basically, I just wanted to start with the piece that is unfortunately always either dropped or missed or
ignored.
Now, I hope not ignored, but hopefully it's just missed.
And just as an aside, I think there's also a deliberate reason to ignore it because that removes personal accountability, especially from our leaders who are contributing to this mess but want to take personal responsibility for it. So why not deflect that part away and focus on the religious aspect?
May Allah bless you.
But
this is the actual answer. May Allah bless you. I didn't want to basically say it this way, but may Allah bless you for saying it. It is what it is. May Allah bless you for saying it. Really appreciate that. But so So let's explain that. So look, when a calamity happens, let's say basically
Yeah.
this disaster, like
Yeah.
somebody hits you in a car.
Yeah.
Like you're just driving, you're a good man, good
Yeah.
woman, somebody hit your car, kills your kid, like let's say you lose a limb.
Yeah.
These are now the calamities that now needs an explanation because you played zero role in that.
Yeah.
This is called total qadar.
Yeah. Yeah.
The qadar is always there. It's just sometimes basically it's partial. Meaning basically you have a choice and also Allah has a plan and those come together.
Yes.
In certain cases, purely qadar. Just like the examples you gave,
Yeah.
whether a child was lost in Gaza or an earthquake, as we said earlier, or look, everything that happens to the human being, that's out of their choice is whose choice? If it's not their choice, whose choice? Allah. Because like whatever happens to you or upon you, it's either your choice, and then Allah will hold you accountable for that choice. You drink wine, you do zina, you're gonna be accountable. You pray well and you do your fasting, Allah will reward you. But when things happens upon you without your choice,
intention,
right? Zero will, let's call it. Then it's coming from Allah. Now, Allah, who said He's the all good. Allah is all merciful. Allah is all wise. So nothing that can come from Allah, that's bad. Cannot be evil. Could be painful.
Yes.
But that's why basically what I tell my students is that look, it's very important to have a stable, firm iman.
Yes.
To decouple two things: pain from being bad and pleasure from being good.
That's so important.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's so important.
Like in the human being, just because see the way the brain works. It's, when we started cognitive science, says the brain is efficient.
Yes.
Well, when it's efficient, it creates stereotypes.
Yeah.
The stereotype is pain is bad.
Yeah.
And then pleasure is good. That's why you eat lots of sugars. It's bad for you.
Yeah.
That's why basically you hate waking up for Fajr. Because it's like in your brain, it's like, I don't want to do that. It's not good. It's not good for me. I don't like it. It's painful. Yeah. So we need to break that. Pain and it could be very painful. And the most painful thing, to be honest, basically, is losing a child.
Yes.
Like this is basically, there's doctors in Australia basically now proved it from a scientific perspective, but our scholars have spoken about it due to Surah Al-Kahf and many other surahs in the Quran to be the most painful human emotion is losing a child. And subhanAllah, I have a family member who did, and subhanAllah, it's been like maybe 10 years maybe, and they're still in pain as if it happened just yesterday.
The grief hasn't gone.
It's subhanAllah. Yeah. May Allah help them and help all the parents that lost child and reward them in the dunya and in Jannah. So the human being needs to understand that if it's coming from God, it has to be good, even if it's painful. Now, where is that in the Quran and Sunnah? It's in the surah that basically it's supposed to be recited every single week. Yeah. In Surah Al-Kahf, you're supposed to recite it every single Friday. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us a very small or short story where basically Al-Khadr, who's supposed to either basically be either an angel or a prophet or somebody that's connected to God through revelation, right? And Musa alayhi salam, which is one of the best messengers ever to be sent to mankind. And Al-Khadr goes and kills a child, a young child, is just less than puberty, so is innocent, is pure. And Al-Khadr goes and out of his way just kill the child. Musa became so angry, enraged, really. You know what I'm saying? Or outraged, sorry. To say like, what did you just do? You've just killed an innocent life. It's an egregious, it's horrendous. Yes. And afterwards, basically, when he explains, Al-Khadr explains and then unfolds basically the mystery to Musa, alayhi salam. He tells him, look, God knew with his ultimate knowledge, because he's all-knowing also, that this child, he's innocent now, but he's going to become an evil person. And he's going to do horrendous things to his parents. And he's going to do horrendous things to the world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to save the parents, because who's in pain? Not the child. The child, died. Right? Could be sudden. It could be zero pain also, from a perspective. But so who's in pain? The parents in pain. So Allah knew that the pain that the child's going to do to the parents is going to be way more. So he wanted to basically help them by basically taking this child away and replace that child with a child that will make him forget their pains and be good to them. So this way he saved the child from his own evil. So the child now can see them in Jannah. You know what I'm saying? SubhanAllah. And he's not gonna go to hell. And they will be happy with the new baby, and they will be treated well, basically when they're old and so forth. So it's all positives. It's just we don't know the future. Who knows the future? God.
We don't know the wisdom.
We don't know the
Sometimes.
wisdom. The
Yeah.
wisdom is hidden.
Yes.
But that's why what we need to understand is if it comes from God, it has to be 100% good.
Yeah.
It might be painful, but that pain is worth it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That pain, God knows that basically He's protecting us from a bigger pain with this pain.
Mm. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
The I know we have a few questions. The other thing I wanted to sort of reflect on, something I've been thinking about, is especially going back to Gaza, is how one test actually has multiple participants. So, for example, I'm walking down the street and I'm seeing somebody who got hit by a car,
Sure.
and that person is going through a test. The person has been injured.
Mm.
But I'm walking by that person, but I choose to ignore that person and continue to walk
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
So is Allah also testing me through that incident?
100%.
So there's multiple actors,
Yeah.
and there's multiple tests through one event. So just in the sense that Gaza is going on, they're going through a test. Inshallah, they're becoming shuhada, and inshallah, they're going to Jannah Firdaus through through that shahada that they're going through.
Yeah.
But us here
Yeah.
are also witnessing that. And the question is,
definitely.
what are we doing to assist them? Are we also being tested? And are there like multiple people participating in that test? And can we take away something? Can we take away something?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Basically, the tests are always basically, usually the tests are always basically multi, actors, right?
Yeah,
There's multiple actors within the test. Every single Muslim in the world, and every single human being, by the way, basically is responsible to what's happening, as I said basically earlier. So where does this responsibility comes from? Allah. If Allah have set upon you responsibility, then you're responsible. Let me give you now two examples,
Sure.
right? Let's say you're a doctor,
Yeah.
and there was an accident.
Yeah.
You're walking by, and then two people got injured. Okay, the one is dying, and one basically is stuck in the car.
Mhm.
Which one do you basically go and support? You know that the ambulance is coming or the fire truck's coming.
Mhm.
So there's one who's dying on the floor. So you should just focus on that.
Yeah.
You don't have responsibility to the other one. The other
Yeah.
one basically can be taken care of by other people.
Yes.
Other people just need to get that trapped person out.
Yes.
Many people can do it, but your responsibility with that with the person dying or bleeding. Let's say.
Yes.
So we need to understand our responsibilities from the Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah.
This comes from the Quran and Sunnah. What is my responsibility to Gaza?
Mm.
Well, your responsibility is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, وَإِنِ اسْتَنْصَرُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ فَعَلَيْكُمُ النَّصْرُ.
Mm.
If any Muslim, one Muslim, we have 2 billion, it calls out for help, from you, due to him or her being persecuted due to their deen, you must, it's an obligation upon you, فَعَلَيْكُمْ, ala means this is upon you, means it's obligation upon you, to help them.
Mm.
You have, what does that mean, to help them? To basically get them out of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So dua and sadaqat and protests and sending letters to MPs, all that and social media basically kind of outreach and awareness, they all will help, but the help basically is not going to be at the situation where it's going to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
What we unfortunately, what we need to understand sometimes, there's no, like subhanAllah, I always give this example that if you spend all your university career just like, let's say, wasting your time on social media and chilling with your friends, and then 4th year comes in and you don't get your degree and you're expelled because all your grades are basically mediocre. Unfortunately, it might be another 5 years or 4 years of another degree, right? At a different university. You know what I'm saying? You have to start over. It's going to be like, you can't just take a couple courses and graduate. Unfortunately, you need to redo the whole thing.
That's right.
So it's just like this is what's happening. Like, there's no quick solution to Gaza. But our responsibility is to now try to unify this ummah. And I always like to speak about the Americans. I mean, the American people in the 1700s, the time of Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and John Adams and so forth, they were divided people. They were not hateful to each other, but they were divided. It was 13 colonies. They were not American. This guy is Virginian. This guy is, Marylander. This guy is Vermonter, or whatever it is, right? But at one point in time, they started their da'wah to unify. And that happened before the American Revolution. The American Revolution, 1776, right? So before that, by a couple of decades, like a generation, let's say 20, 30 years, some American intellectuals and du'at, really, from their perspective, they're not doing da'wah to Islam.
Of course.
they started the da'wah to unify,
Yes.
to make the American people who are not British, because the British were the masters.
Yes.
The British were the colonizers. Yeah, say. They started saying, look, we need to free ourselves and build a republic that's based upon liberty and freedom and innocent before guilty and the rule of law and pluralism and tolerance and a republic that can basically have balance of powers and a vote for everybody and blah 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 blah, all the the good stuff that they always speak about that they don't do. So but at that time they were serious about it. And so they created halaqat, and there was there's scholars of the revolution.
Sure.
They used to be called the Sons of Liberty and the Daughters of Liberty. Imagine that they had their scouts and so forth.
Yeah.
And that
They had a vision.
They had a vision of building a republic, basically.
Yeah.
The American Unified Republic. Unity, Republican, American.
Yeah.
So identity, state, and a goal, and a project, basically. So within 20 years, all the 13 colonies, all the people that are men and women, men and women, and again, the Daughters of Liberty and the Sons of Liberty, they wanted this dream.
Yeah.
And then, subhanAllah, when basically that tax law came from, what is it, King George or whatever it is, basically, that pushed things, but they were ready.
That was the stimulus.
That was the stimulus.
Yeah, catalyst.
That was the catalyst, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the catalyst, and then basically the American Revolution basically kind of exploded.
Yeah, that's fun.
And they created the Constitution, and because people believed it, like everybody believed it. People are not going to just rally for a Constitution overnight. It was a work of 20 years.
Yeah. It's amazing how change can happen so fast when things are aligned.
Exactly.
Even if you look at the example of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and how in 23 years completely, transformed the Arabian Peninsula, in such a short time.
Oh yeah.
When things are done kind of in an aligned way.
Yeah.
A lot of changes can happen. SubhanAllah.
Let me comment on this very important. Look, all revolutions in the history of humanity happened within a generation.
Yeah.
Like the Rasulullah took him 20 years.
Yeah.
The Americans, 20 years. The French, 20 years. The Bolshevik Revolution, 20 years. Like it's always a generation. There's an idea that this generation, because this generation is ripe for it.
Yes.
It spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
And then a stimulus or a catalyst comes in,
Yeah.
and they do it because there's a vision, there's a belief.
Yeah.
So today, I personally believe that our Gen Zs, are the generation people. Gen Zs meaning people who are between, let's say, 13 plus.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, 13 to 28. Yeah, that's the Gen Zs basically. Their generation is ripe for this. But today, we as elderly, like ourselves, I guess, we need to instill, like, because George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were a little bit older than the generation there. Right? They were the guys who were like, it's kind of, they call them the prophets. That's what called the full father. They worship them, right? For us, basically just dua, alhamdulillah. Hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards us. But we need to instill a dream. Sure. That we need to unify the Ummah. They had 13 colonies. We have 57 little countries. And the 13 colonies became 50 states. Became the United States of America. Where's our dream?
Yes. What's our project?
What's our project?
Whether it's here or internationally.
Now, over here, we everybody has responsibility. Over here, we have more responsibility than the West, than the East. Why? Because we have more opportunity.
We have more freedom.
Oh yeah, we have more freedom. We have more ability to access to resources, to learning, to education, to corporate experience. It's legal basically for over here for us to basically associate and create organizations, and we have all the luxury.
Yes.
Over there, they can't. So who has more responsibility? We have more responsibility.
That's right.
I believe the Muslims in the West have the responsibility with that, to unify the Ummah. Especially that over here, because look, you're from Pakistan.
Oh yeah, originally.
So originally from Pakistan, originally from Lebanon. There's this. We're all here. All the national Muslims, all the different 57 Muslim nationalities are here in the West.
That's right.
Especially in Toronto, we're super multicultural here. Like you go to a message, we have like 30 different.
Exactly.
So we can speak together. We can organize. We can create a call. But it is our responsibility, especially here in the West, to basically dream big and speak up. And unify the 2 billion Muslims. Basically, we have to. Now it's not going to start like everything starts small. It's a little seed. But it's a dream. You know what I'm saying? So Rasulullah Sallallahu, I'll give you an example. The Rasulullah spoke to 37 or 30 something tribes. Kind of call them like our Muslim countries, right? We have 57. He spoke to 30 something tribes until one. He found traction with one of them.
Yes.
Well, there's 2 other ones basically that had semi-traction. Yeah, so one of them is called Banu Shayban, and the second tribe was called Banu Amr ibn Sa'sa. The first one, he went there. Look, he wants to, establish Islamic society and immigrate and be a place where Islam can be born. So the leader of Banu Amr said, look, he told the Rasul, look, I'm 100% with you. He actually told his team, he's like, look, لأكلن العرب بهذا الفتى من قريش. He says, I'm gonna dominate all the Arabian Peninsula with this man from Quraysh. And then the negotiations failed though. Why? Because he said, look, after you come here and you build this new state, republic, let's call it basically, quote unquote, it's not a republic from just a, who's going to be the leadership for after you die? He says, I want it to be us, Banu Amr, because we're the one who's giving you the platform.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Rasul told him, look, the only thing you get is Jannah.
Yeah.
He says, هذا الأمر يضعه الله حيث يشاء, meaning basically Allah will put the matter of leadership in whoever hands He wants. He says, the only thing I promise you is Jannah.
Yeah.
We build this together, you get Jannah, and we build something for the humanity, because it's supposed to be the apparatus of justice.
Yes.
Supposed to be the apparatus of peace,
Yeah.
global peace.
Yeah.
Supposed to be the real, international law.
Yeah.
And United Nations that doesn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that failed. He went to Bani Shayban. Bani Shayban, the leader of Bani Shayban was al-Muthanna ibn Haritha. He was one of the greatest leaders. He's like him, and Khalid ibn Walid are like this. They were the both best generals,
Right.
together.
Sure.
But so he was the leader of Banu Shayban. So you're talking to an amazing guy who became one of the greatest Muslims ever after. Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha al-Shaybani. So he goes there, does the same negotiations. That one fails for a different reason, for a better reason. There was no rejection. There was no greed. They're like, look, Jannah is Jannah. We want Jannah. It's fine. But he said, look, you have to. But Banu Shayban was on the borders of the Persians.
Yeah.
So he says, look, we have a truce with the Persians. Number two, they're huge. We can't beat them, but we can defend you from the Arabs. Yeah. He says, no one can do. He says sadaqt. He says you can't really build the deen here.
Yeah.
He says sadaqt being basically truthful, oh man.
Yeah.
He says, ما ينصر دين الله إلا من أحاطه الله من كل جانب. أو لا ينصر دين الله إلا من أحاطه الله من كل جانب. Meaning basically Allah will only give victory, make people ansar, to those who basically have sovereignty over the land from all sides. So you only have it from three against the Arabs. You don't have it from the Persians. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the real traction was the Al-Aws wal-Khazraj in Yathrib,
Yes.
which is today called Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara.
Yeah.
The name changed after Rasul immigrated and built a political entity for peace and justice for the world.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we need to have that vision of basically, maybe in one place in the Middle East, in the Muslim world, sorry, in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Where Islam can basically see traction, because the Ummah is thirsty, the world is thirsty.
Yeah.
Actually, the animals and the trees and the rocks and the seas are thirsty for Islam, because we've been living in the last couple hundred years in pure injustice.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Yeah, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. I mean, I've taken a lot from our discussion. I know we have a few questions coming in from the audience. Definitely, I've taken away, there's a spiritual element to the trials that we face. That it's a qadr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a wisdom behind it.
Definitely.
It's as we know from the hadith, it's a means of tahara. It's a means of purifying our sins. It's a means of bringing us closer to Allah if it's a blessing, but it could also be a punishment if we move away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then you also kind of focused on the practical side, that sometimes the tests that we're facing are due to our sins, are due to our negligence, are due to things that we're not doing. And so it's a call to action that we should actually become more active in being involved in bettering the world, and being part of the solution, and not just being defeatist and not just being pessimistic, but being actively involved in whatever challenges
owning our responsibility.
and owning our responsibility. Jazakallah khair. Questions from the audience? Kashif.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. We got about 10 minutes because I know Sheikh has to get back
for
a class and he has to go quite a distance.
Oh, okay.
So we got to wrap up in about 10 minutes time. So some of the questions and comments that are coming in. So we had someone just commenting, a special greeting and salam to Sheikh Usta. May Allah protect and keep you safe and sound. We had Alhamdulillah, very important topic. Jazakallah khair for arranging this session. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all immensely. We had love you, Sheikh, for the sake of Allah. Sake of Allah, I think you should say. May Allah grant you ease, success, and reward in your efforts.
I'm not getting any love. Only the Sheikh is getting love.
No, may Allah bless you for being here.
I'm just kidding.
Sheikh, you are tirelessly working for our Ummah, and I Also, I'd like to reward you immensely.
May Allah bless you all. May Allah bless you
Ameen.
all. Barak feekum. May Allah bless you,
So
inshallah.
yeah, we have some
Any
emojis
questions?
coming. Yeah,
Any-
we have some questions also.
Yeah.
So where was the question? So here we go. Jazakallah Sheikh for all your efforts. I saw a clip of you talking about unity, and we also discussed it a lot. This question came in early. We discussed it a lot on this podcast that we need unity to make progress. Like, I guess the question is asking what does unity really look like, and how do we unite as Muslims?
Yeah.
Like, one example I'll give is, like, you know, a few months from now we're going to have the Ramadan coming up and the moon fighting will start, right?
Yeah.
So is unity everyone doing Eid on the same day, or is unity respecting that other people are doing it on different days?
Beautiful. Very beautiful question, Michelle. I'm going to give you the answer in two pieces. One is basically what denies or is an obstacle against unity. The obstacle against unity, because you need to remove the obstacles first so you can get there, and then basically what will lead to there. So there's two things. There's sabab and there's mana, as we say in Usul al-Fiqh, basically. Mana is an obstacle for something, let's say, which is our sectarianism. This is the sectarian, we have this unfortunate, like, very low level of tolerance to each other. If somebody's not identical to me, he's not from my masjid, he's not from my madhab, he's not from my, has the same, say, aqidah, whatever it is, basically, we will see him in a very negative light. We will basically, unfortunately, put them down. We will divide from them. We will shun them. We will speak behind their backs against them. It becomes a very toxic environment. We have a very toxic environment in the Ummah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, especially here in the West, because I feel basically a little bit more maturity in the back home. Alhamdulillah, a little bit better iman, also better akhlaq. But over here, because we were born in a very selfish, society that teaches us lots of bad things. There's lots of arrogance here. There's lots of envy here. Lots of individualism here. So unfortunately, it manifests itself. A person comes, starts their journey. So she wears the hijab, he puts a beard, but all these heart diseases are still there. It's not as if the person basically kind of gets cleansed, like, when he says the shahada, or when they come back to Islam. It takes lots of struggle against the nafs. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's why the ulama stress that struggle against the nafs is very important. So we have to struggle against our nafs, and then preach things against arrogance. Preach the message against selfishness. Preach the message against envy. Preach the message against hate and discrimination. Preach the love and tolerance for each other, and broadening our minds to understand that Islam allows these differences. It's okay to have 4 madhabs. It's okay to have 7 madhabs. It's okay to have differences in aqidah that are in the branches. It's okay to have different movements for Islam. It's okay to have, are you tablighi? It's fine. Where your jamaat? It's okay. It's all that. We should love everybody. We should appreciate everybody. Everybody brings something to the table.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest obstacle I see. In terms of how do we unify? Like, if there's no obstacles, doesn't mean there's going to be a natural unification. Yeah. What unifies human beings in general is an idea, a vision, right? Yeah, that's it. If there's no vision, everybody does their thing. Yeah. But if there's a vision that unifies, what is the vision? The vision of building Islam as a system of life, as a way of life. Just like the Americans dreamt about their republic that will exemplify, that manifest their values, because they were under occupation from the British. Yeah. Today we're under occupation too, from a Western cultural perspective, right? It doesn't have to be direct, but we're still conquered or we're still colonized through cultural colonization. Sure. The leaders of our lands back home are still projecting the liberal way of life, the Western way of life. It doesn't coincide with our values. So we should start having a dream today. That when we say dream here, it's not like a wish. Something that can happen. Like, I dream to be a doctor. I dream to be, let's say, an engineer. You go and basically you finish high school, you take the right credits, you apply to the right university, you work hard, you get there. This is a dream for me, like a practical dream. It's called practical dream, real dream. Yeah. So we're supposed to basically have a real dream. That's where it starts. We start with unify. What are we going to unify on what? If we remove the bickering and the hate and the sectarianism, and we unify people with one idea, we need to agree that this is the idea we need to unify on. And people need to say, look, I'm behind that idea. That is my dream. Oh, that's his dream. That's Mustapha's dream. That's everybody's dream. And that's when we unify. And then basically things, after that, things can happen, inshallah ta'ala, almost on a consequential basis. Because people are rational. People are going to organize to basically get there. Yeah. So these are the two things to keep it simple. Removing the obstacles, which is sectarianism and the lack of tolerance. And then unifying people with one vision of basically making Islam great again, making this ummah great again, living by the deen of Allah that we don't have access to, unfortunately, anywhere in the world. People used to say Saudi Arabia, but unfortunately right now, basically, there's lots of Hollywood in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. SubhanAllah. I mean, that's amazing what you've said. that we have to look at both of the things that are holding you back and address them, and don't ignore them, because we tend to ignore those things. We focus on the positive things. We got to unify, and we do all, but the underlying disunity, the underlying envy, the underlying distrust is still there. I mean, in business, we know it's hard to sell something to somebody that doesn't trust you. You can't achieve that goal unless you've dealt with the underlying objections, right? So it's very, mashallah, very practical point of view you had. Any other questions, Kashif?
Yeah, there's so there was one broad question that came in, and they were asking, how do we inspire our youth? So if you just maybe want to quickly, and while you're talking about that, I'll also bring up i3institute.ca, because I know there's a lot of classes. There's actually a youth development program there also. So how do we inspire our youth, Sheikh?
Allah barik fikum. Yeah, so Jazakumullah khair for posting the website, alhamdulillah. How do we inspire our youth? We inspire the youth basically with a dream, with a vision. Like, our youth need a meaning in life. Like, when life is purposeful, they're inspired. When there's lack of purpose, just fulfilling desires, you just basically, you see them just like, wanting to be accepted, they wanted to basically, find a partner, let's say. They wanted to have fun, because there's no purpose, right? When we don't give them a purpose, it's just the desire is gonna basically be their purpose. That's it. I mean, it's like, we live that ourselves, right? Like, when we don't have a purpose, we're like, okay, what do I do now? Just like, just hang out, waste your time, just chill, have fun. And so that's why you have to have a grand purpose. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, when the Rasul came, he gave him a grand purpose. What did he tell Quraysh? This is recorded in the Sirah. He says, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Say La ilaha illallah, تَحْكُمُ الْعَرَبَ وَالْعَجَمِ. You will rule the Arabs and the non-Arabs. Like, you can rule the planet. That's crazy. Like, which 15-year-old kid wouldn't be inspired to say, I'm gonna dominate the planet? And not for, like, your own force, but to spread goodness, to spread peace, to spread justice. You want to be Captain Planet, you want to be Superman. Everybody wants to be these superheroes. Being a superhero is how I try to inspire people. I want to be a superhero. At 12, I was like, look, I want to be a superhero and save the Ummah. But you know what I'm saying? Remember that 12-year-old story is a real story. Maybe in a different day we can talk about the details of that story. But we need to inspire them by being superhero. They need to understand that they must be superhero. And they're like, wow, I can't. Someone will cry. Like, I didn't think about myself like that. Low self-esteem. And really, how do you do this? And then you enable them. So two things. You can't just give them a dream that's just, it's like SMART goals. It has to be like doable, right? It has to be actionable, right? So if it's not actionable, attainable. If it's not attainable, unfortunately, they're not going to believe it. So when you give them a dream to be a superhero, you need to enable them. So that's the i3 Institute. Is one of many, inshallah, platforms to enable this. So we have the program right now, basically the new program. Maybe I can announce the new name about it, because
go for it.
I don't know if the team's gonna hate me or not, because we just actually, it used to be called the Young Dai Program. Now we're gonna change it to basically the Muslim Blueprint Initiative.
Okay.
Inshallah. So
that sounds powerful.
It sounds powerful, inshallah.
Inshallah.
We have a good team now, alhamdulillah. So go to our website and just keep looking. It's not there yet, basically, but look out for the Muslim Blueprint Initiative, inshallah, coming towards you. And it's really a program. It's 11 months, basically, to help create and steer and develop the superheroes and the Avenger team, let's say, call it, basically, of the Ummah, inshallah ta'ala. And again, it's not, well, hopefully it's unique in its own self, but it's not the only effort. We need multiple efforts in the Ummah, and that's why I teach my students to respect all the other efforts. But we should all try to be building the new Sahaba-like generation.
Yes, absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jazakallah khair. That's amazing.
Jazakallah khair. So I have one question, and
then we should wrap it up.
It's 12:03, so after
it's
this,
okay.
we'll
I have a few minutes, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. So the question is, one thing I personally appreciate about Sheikh and the i3 Institute is that, sometimes people get too comfortable and things get normalized, right? But I appreciate that i3 really challenges some of the ideas, right? And makes people think and makes them get out of their comfort zones. And with the Palestine, what's going on in Gaza, this is very important, right? And we're seeing this shift now where even me talking to my coworkers, I got to get comfortable talking in ways I wasn't comfortable before, right? I have to challenge the narratives. You hear things like human shields and do you condemn, do you do this? 10 years ago, I would have answered those very differently, but I got to get more comfortable. And even it makes people mad. And there was also a question that came up was sort of not mad, but uncomfortable, right? Subhanallah, these ideas of unifying are so common sense, but they never get talked about in khutbahs or in everyday conversation. How do we make these ideas mainstream in the Muslim community? So what me and the questioner are asking is, even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if it makes us look bad, what advice do you have for sort of, normalizing conversations and making progress that way?
I always basically tell my students as an answer to this question, go buy a Nike shirt with big "Just Do It" on it, and just always keep wearing that shirt and just do it. It's supposed to basically look. You gain experience in da'wah by doing it. By the way, right? You need a guide. You need a mentor. And again, this is what I3 tries to provide: is the mentorship, a very close mentorship. We don't. Our classes are supposed to be small, like 1 to 20 max. Inshallah ta'ala, but find mentorship. Doesn't have to be through I3, but find mentorship, but go do it. If you're gonna just sit there until you feel you're ready, you're already ready. Okay, you're just not comfortable. Again, remember basically the linkage between bad and pain.
Yes.
You feeling not comfortable doesn't mean that you're not ready. It doesn't mean readiness has nothing to do with you. The uncomfort. Uncomfort is part of being ready. Being uncomfortable is part of being ready.
Yes.
When you want to jump on a pool, which is just 1 meter deep, you're 100% ready. You're almost 2 meters tall. You're definitely ready. Water doesn't hurt you, doesn't burn you. So you're ready, but you're not comfortable. So how do you do it? Just jump. You can wait and walk around the pool and but this is uncomfort. Are you ready? Darn yes, you're ready. 100% you're ready. You're 2 meters tall. It's only 1 meter deep. You see what I'm saying? So just do it. So what we need to do is to make this a public narrative. It has to be a national discourse in the Ummah. It's not just water cooler. It's a dinner table discussion where the grandparents speak to their granddaughters, grandsons, that we need to be unified. Look at the golden age of Islam. Remember the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Look at the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Look at the stories of the Anbiya. Look at Yunus alayhi salam, how he unified his people. Look at David alayhi salam, who built a whole kingdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, Ya Dawood, inna ja'alnaka khalifatan fil ardi fahkum bayna an-nasi bil haqq. Meaning basically, Dawood, we made you a khalifa on earth. We gave you strength, we gave you leadership, we gave you authority. So rule between people with the truth. And this is what we want. We are people of truth. We're people of justice. We're people of peace. You see what I'm saying? But when you let the authority in the hands of the evil people, it's not gonna be peaceful, it's not gonna be just, and it's not gonna be fun either. Right? It's gonna be pretty painful. So how do you make it a public discourse? How do you make it an Ummah-wide discourse? Just do it. You see what I'm saying? Don't wait for others. When you start, and then things will basically, like a domino effect will happen. Start with your friends. Start with your social circle. You're not comfortable speaking to your parents, probably, right? Speak to your friends. Speak to your neighbors. Speak to your co-workers. Just get that idea out there. The more we do it, the more the 2 billion will speak about it. And the minute it becomes a public discourse, just like the 13 colonies, we'll be ready, inshallah.
Right. MashaAllah. And on that note, I'm pumped. Jazakallah khair. That was a very good conclusion. I think we can wrap it up, right, Kashif? Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Allah thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for coming. I was definitely enlightened. The first opportunity we've had to to talk together between ourselves. And Jazakallah khair for bringing the Islamic content into this podcast. And that's something extremely valuable for us, for myself, and for our audience. And Allah Ta'ala give you success.
May Allah bless you and the whole team. And I'm very proud of being here.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.